Hello everybody, my name is Miki, founder of Strong Body, Strong Mind, and I want to thank you for clicking the link and heading over to this one-pager that I have prepared for you, and it's called The Whisperings of Demons. 13 ways the devil keeps you down and how you can break free from him. Let's get into it. So, Napoleon Hill is one of those names you come across if you do some digging into the fields of self-improvement and personal success. He is known worldwide for his ultimate classic, Think and Grow Rich, a book which goes deep into the philosophy of becoming anything you can imagine if you just put your mind to it. But in 1938, just shortly after Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill had a manuscript ready for release. He revealed that he, quote, broke the devil's code, unquote. In this manuscript, he put the devil on trial, forcing him to confess his secrets in an interview-style approach on how he instills, among other things, fear, procrastination, anger, hate, and jealousy into people's minds, and how these things simply hold back a person's potential on becoming the best you can become. This manuscript was named Outwitting the Devil, and it proved so controversial that it was hidden for over 70 years, simply because at the time Hill, and then afterwards his estate, felt that society simply would not be ready for an earthquake like this. Finally, in 2008, the estate of Napoleon Hill decided that it was time to release this written masterpiece. And I got a copy of it right here, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. But even reading this in the year 2022 makes one wonder if people today are even remotely ready to grasp deeply what this is all about. This writing is just as relevant today as it was 70 years ago, maybe even more so. That's why this fits perfectly into the concept of strong body, strong mind, and that's what we're going to talk about now. A few key points. I'm going to give to you my interpretation of what Napoleon Hill was talking about. So hopefully you can do something with it. Hill wrote, quote, "When you finish the story of the devil, you will know more about God," which makes perfect sense. To get closer to God, one needs to have been in contact with the devil, to know how he works, manipulates, and influences. So let's get going with part one. Napoleon Hill wrote, "You are entitled to know that two entities occupy your body. One of these entities is motivated by and responds to the impulse of fear. The other is motivated by and responds to the impulse of faith. Will you be guided by faith, or will you allow fear to overtake you?" The world is changing every moment. Is the change good or bad? Whichever, it is sure that we are stuck in a rat race because we are not taking a moment to think. Why are we performing a particular action? We justify our negative emotions like jealousy, anger, fear, and procrastination most of the time. We give reasons to ourselves for such feelings to explain our actions. But wait, it is fine to have such feelings. But do we ever introspect and ask ourselves why? We rarely initiate the courage to approach our mental block, which brings negative vibrations to us. Our thoughts are the seeds. They make us poor, rich, evil, good, positive, or negative. If we do not dream of becoming big and thinking of becoming rich, how can our destiny make us rich? Our thoughts matter. They form an idea. If you have to achieve anything in life, start with an idea. How do you think that people succeed? They dream, and accordingly, they build goals to achieve them. Someone who has a dream in their thoughts, their mission drives them. And when I say rich or dream big, I don't necessarily mean in a materialistic way. I mean in a way where one is fully happy with where he or she is in life and living out one's purpose. Our faith, principles, and foundation make us successful people. But in today's world, materialism has taken over our minds. Materialism is not just killing our climate, but it is also deteriorating us from inside, our spirit and soul too. We compete with people around us to hoard similar or better stuff by bringing comparison into the picture. Clothes, shoes, gadgets, household items, cars, and the list goes on. Can we ever satiate the hunger of materialism even if we have an infinite number of things with us? Once, the American Psychological Association had shared that materialism leads to unhappy lives. Sadly, this is true. It is a common mindset that the more we hoard things, the more we get happy. However, this does not happen in absolute sense. There is a fine line between gratification and minimalism. We choose what we really want to choose, and that is why we should not blame the external circumstances when we keep accumulating stuff we don't even need. We might think that a brand new latest phone would satisfy us, but the greed increases. When the phone gets older, we think of buying another one, and the list goes on. And you are more likely to stay depressed and unsatisfied in your life. Introspect, rethink, stop, take a pause, because materialism impacts our physical health too. How? Something that eats you from the inside and keeps you depressed is bound to bring physical damage to your health. People who have high materialistic desires and who don't make their health their top priority suffer from today's modern diseases. They feel disoriented, and it brings in a kind of void, the reason of which is unknown to them, because people are not able to connect materialism with stress. They are under the impression that if they bring more things to their home, it is good. They do not accept that they are just doing it to maintain a reputable social image, or how they say, keep up with the Joneses. What is driving us to get involved in inappropriate actions? It is our fear. Napoleon Hill said, "Fear is the tool of a man-made devil. Self-confident faith in oneself is both the man-made weapon that defeats this devil and the man-made tool which builds a triumphant life. And it is more than that. It is a link to the irresistible forces of the universe which stand behind a man who does not believe in failure and defeat as being anything but temporary experiences." In the book, The Interview with the Devil is an eye-opener. The devil says that he has control over 98% of living beings. He also confesses that he does not do any action. Instead, he boasts about it and represents the negative side of anything. The devil controls the negative thought, and his opposition, God, represents the positive thought. The devil admits that he plants the seeds of fear in people. As it grows, the devil controls the space which fear occupies. His cleverest device for mind control is nothing else but fear. He instills the fear of poverty, criticism, loss of love, ill health, old age, and death. It is not surprising that the root cause of any evil inside you is the fear factor. And the devil does this pretty well. We think that we have all the knowledge in this world, but we are not even aware of the devil's presence in our minds. We let him manipulate our body, mind, and spirit. Fear is a very powerful tool. One can crumble under it or rise above it. If you learn how to use fear and have it push you to go forward rather than stand in front and keep you from going further, this is when you break the devil's code of operation. When we believe in God, positivity wins. When we not believe in God, the faith and courage inside us tend to decline, and the devil wins. This is the start of our fall down. Across the globe, but mostly in our heavily progressive, liberal Western world, people have started to turn their backs to God. Our ancestors had always believed in God or in some form of higher spiritual being. Today, we are just focusing on money. We want to be liked by the people around us, and we are busy imitating the other person's actions. Today, the big government is our new God. We put all our hopes and faith in the Big Daddy state and that it will take care of all our needs. We don't take ownership over our own personal health, and we let Big Pharma decide what is best for us. We follow pop culture and idolize fake prophets and do things according to societal expectations. We have science today as our new religion, where everything has to be proven and verified in a materialistic way. This is a nihilistic worldview. So if we cannot prove that there is a God, then we automatically assume there is no God, right? And if there is no God, then there is definitely no devil. But as the saying goes, the devil's biggest trick was to fool the world into thinking that he does not exist. This is how the devil inside us is winning all the time. I believe strongly that this is a cycle which constantly repeats itself. And this has been going on for thousands of years. There is a saying that goes, hard times create strong men. Good times create weak men. The story of mankind can be found all the way back to the Old Testament. When times are hard, people search for God. When times are good and we live in abundance, we lose morals, core values, and everything is perverted and deranged, and we tend to forget God. And this is a pattern which can be seen. In the Old Testament, God's people continually get saved, and then they fall off again. If one looks into the stories of Moses and Abraham, they constantly screw up. We must never forget, when we fall off and screw up, we have to get back on the path. People forget, but we must remember. And when we acknowledge that we are on the wrong path, we must turn around. The opposite of remember is dismember, which means being cut off or split up from everything. The devil has all the negative energies in the world, and he says that his opponent has all the positives. How? According to the devil, his opponent controls all the positive factors throughout the universe. And that's how the earth and all the planets are balanced. The devil does not seek control over stars, planets, or anything. Rather, it seeks control over human minds and earthly things. When we give control of our minds to someone, we follow things blindly. We feel swayed. We do not seek a logical explanation behind any deed or act. We do that recklessly because something is socially accepted in modern and progressive society. No, the idea is not to disagree with everything. Rather, it is about giving a pause and thinking, hey, why do I agree to this? It is also about coexisting with disagreements. There will be disagreements, but can't we accept each other's viewpoints and think other people can hold a different perspective? We can agree to disagree if we strongly feel about something. Again, life is not just about building a peaceful relationship by agreeing with everyone's viewpoint. Your own principles matter, and a real man stands up for what he believes is right. People might call you an old-school conservative. So what? What can they do to you? You hold these thoughts because you see and believe in things from a different angle or perspective. Many people around you might not have ever gotten an opportunity to even hear about these things. If old-school conservative or even traditionalist thoughts are so difficult to comprehend and follow, how did they strengthen our ancestors' foundation centuries ago? How were people, families, and societies so strong before, and why are we so weak today? This shows to me that modern progressivism is more or less a downward spiral. "100 years ago, we had no fridge, no microwaves, TVs, washing machines, etc. There were no cars, and now we have numerous brands to choose from. Instead, we had horses that helped us expand into rural areas. Now we have a much more pleasant life, but everything seems temporary and casual. At that time, people could not afford luxuries. Today, we possess all the luxuries and take them for granted. It is no wonder that in the coming years, having good health will be the most wanted luxury in the world. To name a few, the amenities like TV, car, Netflix, uninterrupted internet services are making our life more sedentary, and we are falling under the trap. Paradoxically, we call it a cozy life. Our ancestors were much healthier than us. Why? Because they knew how to lead a healthy life. In today's modern world, we eat out at McDonald's and Pizza Hut and have our meals by sitting in front of the TV. Not just this, our children are imitating this attitude and embedding it in their mindset. How can we expect our children to be healthy for their own good when we are not following it? How can we expect for our children to be physically active when we are slouching on the couch? Aren't we becoming hypocrites instead of role models? In the old days, before all these luxuries I just mentioned, people were connected. People talked to each other and built things together. They helped one another. Families were strong and societies held tight. Today, we hardly know the name of our next door neighbor. The sad story is that not even schools let children think the way they want to think or should think. The creative flow of children's minds is not getting the required direction. They are bound to follow what teachers are teaching them. They are being taught what to think and not how to think. No one asks them to apply their brains, and this is not healthy for them, physically, mentally, and spiritually, and emotionally. A set of rules and regulations are laid before them in schools, and they are just forced to obey. Someone had once asked on Quora if schools brainwash children. The answers were from many places. The most striking answer which someone had written was that few schools constantly pressurize children to sign papers, make them admit that they have made some mistake. Some teachers at those schools force the students to sign the agreements, and when they don't, they are not allowed to leave the classroom. How devastating can this be when children are forced to comply with something they have not even done? When children are brainwashed, they lose their creativity and individuality. They don't learn how to lead, but rather how to follow. Their untapped potential keeps the creativity locked, and they remain unaware about using imagination to solve their life issues. Where are we heading when the younger ones are so confused? Simply put, the indoctrinated younger children will be the ones who shape the world tomorrow. In various institutions, the child is isolated from having its own opinion. Humans are being brought up in a system ever since we are young, all the way until we are grown-ups, that simply does not want us to reach our full potential. The school system, as we know it, originally was invented to turn people into good factory workers, and not much has changed until this day. In school, we are not being taught about finances, investments, nor taxes, nor that we can be our own boss one day. We are taught to be good little boys, not question authority, finish school, find a job, and go work for somebody the rest of our lives, pay taxes, and die. Also, it has become mainstream progressive thinking that teenagers should break from the patriarchal chains of the home and go into the world and rebel against their parents, free from morals and participate in a degenerate lifestyle. And this way of thinking is heavily embedded in the educational system. Even the term teenager is something that has not even existed 100 years ago. Back then, you would emerge from being a child into a young adult. In those days, a 20-year-old young man would already work on his own farm and provide for his own family. In World War II, 16-year-olds were sent overseas to go to war. Today, we have 30-year-old men living in their mother's basement, eating soy chips and playing PlayStation all day. The list of things ruining us is endless, and Netflix is up on this list. The Netflix effect. That is a new term that emerged now. People love the flexibility in terms of time that Netflix is offering to them. What people do not understand is the influence it is leaving on our minds. We are getting glued to our TV screens for numerous episodes of drama seasons. There are no content restrictions, and one can watch sex, violence, and abusive language in its worst form. After spending time watching Netflix, people feel that they have got relaxed. Netflix and chill. People relate it with distressing too. But what is the value addition? What do we get out of it? The long hours are wasted to see what happens in the next season. What are we learning through it though? Addiction, sex, idolation of crimes and murders and drug abuse is being shown uncensored. Our lives pass by very quickly, and we should rather spend the few hours a day we have left after work on something that will make us stronger and better in every way. Maybe read a good book on health or personal development, or meet a good friend who has personal problems and needs someone to talk to, or work on your side business. God has given us our body for only this one short life on earth, and we must do our best to set our mark, plant our flag, and become the best we can become, and follow our calling, and help and motivate other people to do the same. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. Sigmund Freud. The next terrible thing for our civilization are fatherless homes. Researchers have found the link between crimes and fatherless homes. The reasons can be misguided radical feminism and broken families. According to Shout Out UK, 63% of youths committing suicide come from fatherless homes. 80% of rapists with anger problems come from fatherless homes. That's 14 times the average. We should never undermine the importance of the father. The father is the mentor. No, it does not mean that mothers can't take up the father's role. Of course, she can take care of the child's physical, financial, and emotional needs, and there are many successful examples of strong women who had to take up the burden of raising children on their own, but the young ones simply feel more stable and secure with their dads at home. The presence of their father makes them strong and fearless. If we see this from a different perspective, the fathers also have a painful life when they get separated from their children. Suicide is the biggest killer of men who are under 50. We need to understand that both parents, the father and mother, have to be present for a child to develop the way it should. In no sense can one replace the other. A child must know that it has a strong mother and a strong father at home. Today, over 18 million children in the US alone live in a household without a father. Strong families are being destroyed, and everyone is paying the cost of living in a dysfunctional family. We're given a new term, extended families. Was it really required? Was the nuclear family really the biggest mistake of this civilization? Family bondage has become less common. We do not know much about our ancestors. Hell, we don't even know much about our cousins, aunts, and uncles who are living today. When we do not know our family and our past, how will we carve our future for the better? It is like building a house without a strong foundation that can fall any day, any time. Men have to man up again. Men have to take responsibility. Most fathers today are just like the way they are being portrayed in pop culture TV sitcoms and Hollywood movies. They are deadbeat dads, weak, dumb, helpless goofs taking in a submissive role in the marriage. having no authority whatsoever, sitting on their couch and watching football, getting lazy and fat instead of taking their children out in the wild to play and seek adventures. Most people today simply have never met a real, strong, authoritative, moral, and good man before. This is a species of man which more and more ceases to exist. A father must be someone for his children to look up to, an example of what it means to be a man. He must educate his children about living a good and righteous life. However, progressiveness and technology are doing a lot of harm to us. Laptops, PCs, and phones are all modern gadgets that unknowingly create chaos in front of us. Unfortunately, we are not even noticing it. No wonder we have become slaves to technology. How is the feeling when we don't have our phone with us for long? The power cuts when you are watching a show on TV, the internet speed slows down, the washing machine is not working. In these moments, there is a feeling of restlessness. The irony is, we are choosing comfort over everything. This is how we are becoming lazier. We are allowing the machines to make us sluggish. Laziness is one of the most negative energies which hovers around us. Praise to the inventors, but not every technological improvement is a boon for the civilization, because people overuse it. Did we really need Hulu, HBO Go, Apple TV, iTunes? No, absolutely not. Things were fine with paper maps. We did not require some voice to tell us where we are and how we can reach our destination. We, as a society, do not want to be uncomfortable. Man is willing to give up all his freedoms, his sovereignty and self-governance, just for a little bit of comfortability. This will be our decline. We have become overly dependent. Hard times will eventually come again, where all these things will not matter anything anymore. And most people will not be able to cope with it. Social media is no less. For people, it has become a social drug. Those who disagree with this can check their digital well-being on their phones, which can tell how much time you spend on social media. The constant checking of phones creates an endless distraction. We keep staring at screens for a long time and it impacts our brains. Social media make an impact on our lives every day. We start living in a false sense of reality and believe in unrealistic expectations from others. It further ruins our self-esteem, confidence, and affects our relationships too. Let's say someone goes on vacation and posts pictures with their family. His friends, followers on social media platform view these pictures. Many people would feel sorry that they could not make it to their own vacation this year, and they would envy this person. Why this comparison? Do you really know things behind the scene? It is quite possible that they look happier from the outside, but they have a void inside them. Getting enough followers is another competition for which people are going crazy. For some people, getting 1,000 followers on Facebook or Instagram is less. For some, it is more. It is again bringing craziness into the picture, which does not yield any fruitful result to your life. Fiending for likes for your posts and pictures are dopamine hits to the brain, like an addict getting his fix. Too many distractions and we are losing our sense of purpose in life. People are adding unnecessary stressors to their lives, and they cannot figure out why they feel drifted from their own selves. Although it is normal to feel stuck sometimes, some people declutter the chaos and are untouched by the distractions. When there are too many distractions, we feel stressed about not being productive. It drains us out, and we cannot focus and concentrate on our goals. Do you know why this happens? Because we lack discipline. Productivity demands discipline, which is majorly missing in our lives. The job we have is a medium to pay the rent and bills and enjoy life with whatever little is left over. Now let us talk about the learning part too. We do not even spare a moment to rethink our decisions every day. Our choices are hardly based on conscience. Now this is what the devil inside us is doing, infiltrating our minds. Amidst all this, we cannot recognize the good and evil, the absolute part. We are measuring everything in terms of comparison. We are human, and humans make mistakes. But we must learn from those mistakes. If we don't learn the first time around, we will learn the second time. But this time, it might hurt a little. If we don't learn the second time, we will eventually learn the third time. And this time, the pain will be more, and so on. It is our choice when we learn. There comes a point in our lives where we have to come back to the source. Like Abraham, one must reverse his tracks and return to the altar. We need to reconnect with our foundation. We need to speak with God, who has created this universe, the earth, and all that is living. When we sin, we get disconnected from God. This happens subconsciously. We do not do it on purpose. But God would happily reconnect if you seek it. But we are the ones who have to make the first step. It is not God's responsibility to run around and save everyone. This is what many people get wrong. God is not responsible for what is happening here on earth. He has given us the gift of free will. We make our decisions. Our bodies belong to the world, but our minds and souls belong to the kingdom. What we make of it is up to us. When we really want to reconnect, we must separate the guilt. Remember, this will be a slow process. The moment you find the connection with God, you will be able to identify things based upon conscience rather than mere logic. It is high time we make up and demolish the demons inside us. We need to come out of our shells and comfort zone. But before that, we will have to follow the path of faith. We will have to introspect and find the light within us. There is light within us that can take us away from the darkness. And then only we can realize our full potential, achieve success, and overcome the darkness. Thank you for watching, and stay strong.